Ladies on Reddit, what was the dumbest thing a guy said after sex? I have a tattoo of the world on my back. This guy was F-king me doggy style and pulled out to come on my back. He then exclaimed, "Whoa. There's a tsunami in Australia." I fell on my face laughing so hard. Oh boy. I was hooking up with this guy in his on-campus apartment, which he shared with his brother. Brother wasn't home, so we were doing the do with the bedroom door open. Not smart anyway. Brother comes home in the middle of it. Sees straight through the hallway into the room. He fumbles around and then leaves. I'm embarrassed and kinda want to get out of there, but he wants to finish, so I think, what the hell. His brother left anyway, so why not? I wonder if he's close to coming, so I ask, "Are you close?" And he responds with, "Yeah." He said, "Alexa, play You're Welcome," and the speakers from each side of his bed began to serenade us with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's voice as Maui from Moana. I gave a dude a blowjob and apparently he'd never come from one before. Who knows if that was true? Anyway, after he goes, "Oh my god. That was amazing. I thought there was something wrong with me. You need to have daughters." Yes. My mother taught me about sex, birth control, and how to suck dick. This one is kind of the reverse since I'm a guy. But I was eating my ex out under the covers and in the dark with just my TV on. Just how she liked it, or I must be ugly. IDK lol. Anyways, so I went to go kiss he and fool around some more. She took one look at my face and said, "Babe, I think I'm on my period." My dumbass asked why. It tasted a little odd, but I wasn't very experienced yet. I've said a lot of stupid shit. The worst was probably, "Do you like egg sandwiches?" It's a full brain reboot. Sometimes programs load up to desktop before we have a chance to close them. He told me, with all the sincerity in the world, as some weird compliment, "You would make a great single mother." Why in the name of the ancient FCK would he say that? Mind if I hit this? And then he pulled out a vape pen he'd hidden under the bed. My bed. Specifically for this reason. Edit. He was not being ironic. He also dumped me 4 times. I was young and dumb, for a girl that lived in Norway, and used to bring a box of wine and an avocado to parties. Just for himself. He'd eat it while he tried to find people to fight. Eli. If you're reading this, thanks for the Reddit fame. I had sex with a guy I dated for a few months, and afterwards he said, "Your vagina is smaller than other vaginas I've had sex with." I just responded with thanks. I wasn't sure if it was a compliment, criticism, or a mere observation. Hey. Don't tell anyone about last night. I get enough shit for being vegan. A phrase that has stuck with me for 10+ years. Not so much dumb as just cruel. I think I miss my ex. He played "I Just Had sex" by The Lonely Island while on the phone with his best friend, with me still in the bed, when we just lost our virginities to each other. I was snuggling with my boyfriend in the afterglow and I looked up at him and asked, "What are you thinking about?" Thinking he would say something sweet. This bitch deadass looks down at me and says, "Mudflaps." Edit. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this. My boyfriend had just bought a truck, so he was thinking about accessories a lot. I wasn't even mad. I laughed and then he laughed and we just laughed for like 10 minutes at the dumbness of it. Okay, are we done? I guess he was too afraid to ask whether or not I came, and that was his way of doing it. Me. Gives blowjob. Guy. Did you come, babe? His window was open during the deed and when we got done he closed it and said, "I really hope someone heard that." Wow, I love my boyfriend, but he says the dumbest stuff. Especially right after sex. Highlights include, "You feel so dense right now. I've never felt more like there's a man lying on me. I have so many thoughts running through my head right now. I wish I'd learned more yo-yo tricks." And when I told him to stop playing with my nipple, he didn't say it. But afterwards he grabbed his phone and went on a tracking app and tracked that he had SX that day. Fitness isn't just a hobby. My boyfriend's brain goes into this weird hyperfocus mode as soon as he comes, so I'll be laying on him catching my breath hoping to continue the fun. And he'll blurt out something like, I ordered some things to put in my yard to attract crows. I hope they like them. I've done a lot of research on attracting and befriending crows. But I wonder if they'd prefer something more like a game. Or some kind of water feature? Cuddling in the afterglow. Him gazing adoringly at my nude body. Whispers. I've just never seen boobs as small as yours. Edit. My goodness. Thanks for all the kind words from small boob owners and aficionados. Hoopsie daisy. He kind of dipped in. Nutted. Went to roll over to sleep. I told him I wasn't done yet. And his response, oh. Okay. Do you want a back rub? I kind of wanted to come, my dude, but okay. I will add. I found out later his ex had depression and her medication made it so she couldn't org SM. So to make it even he would give her a back rub after. He was being nice. My ex-boyfriend said to me during our first and only SZOL encounter, "Shti, my stepdad's home." Before he ran to his ensuite bathroom to hide. He left me lying there naked and really pissed. This definitely sounds like a setup for a PRNO. Not so much after but during. But the very first time I had sex with my ex, we were both virgins at the time. He straight up said, "Are you feeling it now?" MR. Crabs. My partner will sometimes slap my ass afterwards and say good game. It always gives me a laugh. Edited to add. I told my boyfriend that this blew up overnight and all he had to say was "you're welcome" with a shitty eating grin. My boyfriend has a quick draw problem. Which is honestly fine 80% of the time to me. It bothers him though, and I cannot get the poor guy to stop saying sorry nearly every time. He's attentive in the foreplay. So it's really all good. But stop saying sorry. 2 seconds after you nut. Edit. Thanks everyone for the suggestions on using a numbing cream. Reiterating that I'm very content with our sex life, and for those who mentioned I judge him. You miss 99% of my comment. Also, I f***ing pray that my boyfriend never finds my Reddit account. I'm a guy, but I have a stupid one I'd like to share. So me and a neighbor were friendly, and one night I slept over. We both still had to get up and go to work in the next morning, but when the AM rolled around, we decided to squeeze in one more. Unfortunately for me, the climactic moment arrived right as I heard the sound of a large truck outside the house, and the worst possible moment for post-nut clarity popped up. I stopped moving and said to no one in particular, "Shti, I forgot to take the garbage cans out for the trash trucks today. We don't talk anymore." Dumb. And shty. I guess you can only FCK so many people before you realize you still hate yourself. Did you sleep with Bojack Horseman? Years ago I had a roommate best friend, M, who right after sex told his girlfriend he thought they shouldn't see each other anymore. I heard a thud and then a scream in a high-pitched squeal. "WTF do you mean?" from across the house. He later told me he was going to tell her, but she was in the mood and he didn't want to interrupt her. So he waited until they were finished. I was like, dude. No. A guy once said "you're welcome" after he was finished. It was quick and so uneventful I was just completely shocked. Like, thanks dude for f***ing me. I just started laughing and I never hooked up with him again. Wait. You f***ed Maui. That he wished I would let him play I Just Had sex by Lonely Island. I did this after losing my virginity. She wasn't impressed. Nothing. Hold the f***ing phone. You mean to tell me that my man f***ed and then went straight to League of Legends without breathing a word to you? Must be a Yasuo player. He smacks my butt and said, "Good work team." Would you believe me if I said I actually enjoyed spending time with you? Duh. Dude tried to give me a compliment by saying "you have plumpy piece lips." Dude did not realize that was borderline weird to say. I started laughing. I was cuddling a guy after sex one time and he told me he was leaking testosterone all over me. Are you a lesbian? Got asked this from a FWB since I did not come and he thought of himself as a sex god, so that was his logical conclusion. Edit. Thank you all for the responses. We were not FWB for long for obvious reasons, and when I got the question I was so flabbergasted and a little bit drunk, I just stuttered a no. I could have used you guys for a clever comeback. My response would have been, well. My first time I said, Jesus Christ. That definitely haunts them at night. You don't feel like warm apple pie, to which I said, how do you know what apple pie feels like? No answer to that one. I bet I just rocked your world. He did not. Edit. Thank you for all the upvotes and hilarious comments. You've made my terrible hookup feel worth it now. My ex belly laughed incredibly loud for like 30 seconds after we finished the first time. It turned out that climaxing just had that effect on him. It was cute and always made me bring my A game. I wanted to get a big laugh always. When we first started fooling around, my husband used to say thank you afterwards. It made me feel like I was offering services instead of something we experienced together. I finally told him about it after a couple months and thank goodness I never heard it again. I know it's not as dumb as some of these, but it irked me and took away from the moment. New to SX me. Whoa. That was. Oh. I think some my sweat dripped on your face. Huh? Dot. Yup. Not dumbest but by far funniest. My husband. Back when we were dating. One night had asked for a handy. I was like sure yeah whatever. I started. And maybe a couple of minutes into it I realized I was set to end up with a mess and no way of cleaning without just running out of the room. I stopped and said BRB. And ran to grab a box of tissues from the living room. We finish and I grab a tissue and clean my hand up and he gives me this stupid look and says, guess those tissues really came in handy, eh? I still laugh about it. It was dumb and personally I thought hilarious. Well, one time after SX, while I was laying next to her, I pulled out my phone and sent her a dick pic. She picked up her phone, looked at it, and asked, did you just send me a dick pic? To which I said, no. Not after. During. He stopped me while I was performing a nice act for him and he said, wait. What was your name again? From a comment down the thread. This was not a stranger. We were in middle school and high school together. Our graduating class was under 100. We had taken a couple college courses together and had worked together on several group projects. The entire thing was absurd. I was less offended and more shocked that he thought that was a good time to ask. It did not ruin the day and I definitely laughed long and hard about it. After SX. My guy collapsed on top of me. When he pulled back, our sweaty chests somehow made a small suction squelch noise. His romantic next words? Ha, he boob farts. Dot. He laughed so hard at my reaction he snorted. One time my husband and I were doing the deed with me on top. He pulls me close, puts his face in the crook of my neck, and as he came, he unintentionally made the most hilarious wet fart mouth noise on my neck that I have ever heard. If he didn't have such a grip on me, I would have literally fallen off from how much I was laughing. And then it got worse because he was laughing too. But he was still sort of in the aftershock of coming. Didn't move his mouth. And it became a mouth fart laugh. Which made me laugh even harder. It was so stupid. But it still makes me smile. When I lost my virginity I cried and the guy just sat there and legit stared at me with a completely unconcerned look on his face while he was eating a giant peppermint stick. He at least offered me some of the peppermint stick Edit. I don't know why I cried. He didn't hurt me or anything. It was just emotional. And I cry when movies get too happy sometimes. I'm just emo like that I guess. Lol. Peppermint stick? Like a candy cane? Be honest. Did my mans have a big white beard? Laying exhausted next to each other, I patted one of my GF's boob and said good job. We are both Swedish and I said it in English, which didn't make it less weird. For the Futurama fans. I was 9 months pregnant on top of my husband and he started really grunting, so I thought I was doing a great job. Turns out I was crushing him and then he said death by snoo snoo. I laughed so hard. BF and I like to tell each other thanks for the SX. I am super late to the party. But once a guy said to me after SX, I know you almost came. That's why I stopped so the bed doesn't get wet. He said catch out right after coming. Was casually seeing this guy. We had SX for the first time and he goes, you were my 10th. That's double digits. And high-fived me. I high-fived back. Speaking on behalf of an old friend who told me what a guy told her after they FK'd. Am I a dad now? They were hidden in public. Hitting up a quickie, which was when he blew inside of her 3 times and then delivered his famous last words. Total FCK. Edit. He busted once. Short 3 times. My bad. There is a big difference. Wire as in Waluigi. I wish I were joking, but it was a reference we have seen earlier. Wait. You are trying to distract me from the fact that you ate the last cupcake. Right? My boyfriend was drunk at the time and came inside me. As he was gearing up for round 2. He was using his hands in my vagina and exclaims, oh god. You're so wet. That's unreal. When it was just his own semen. I fully regret dating this man. Alright. When my girl and I first had SX, I told her that she made me feel like a Power Ranger after we finished. She still laughs at it. Edit. How the heck is this my most upvoted comment? My ex once whispered, I killed Mufasa right in my ear. It wasn't even an impression of Scar. Not that that would have made it any better. Not a woman. But here's the dumbest thing I've ever said after SX. We were both really horny. She was in a particular mood where she wanted and demanded that we FCK really hard. So after about 30 minutes of some non-stop pounding, we both flopped to the bed in exhaustion. After I caught my breath, I wanted to make sure she was alright. I asked how she was doing, using a tone that insinuated, did I hurt you? She smiled and said yes. And like an idiot I said, I thought so. Your vagina is built for tough. Asterisk. There was a brief pause where we both took audit of just how stupid I am. And then she started laughing at me while I cringed and buried my face in the pillow due to embarrassment. She was a gem. Guy here. I'll just share the dumbest thing I ever said after SX. I was in a relationship with a girl who was a virgin. I wasn't. So we mostly just did mouth and hand stuff. We got each other off just fine. But it takes me forever to orgasm from a hand job or a blow job. So one of the first times we had SX, I predictably nutted in about 72 seconds. While I was still inside her after finishing, I felt the need to explain myself and looked her in the eye and said, "Hey, faster than when you give me a blow job. Right?" She didn't answer. Almost 20 years later, I still cringe when I remember that. They say others don't remember the cringy things you did in the past. But this she remembers. After a whole 3 minutes he had the audacity to ask if I came. No foreplay or anything. Reminds me of Mila Kunis's line in Friends with Benefits. SX with men. They're like, UNH. UNH. Baby say my name. UNH. I'm done. How was it? I'm a guy. For context. Last week GF spends the night. I'm raiding on Destiny 2. She does the stupid drop the towel challenge. Anyway, we go at it instantly. Then after we are done I turn back at the screen and notice the voice overlay. Then it hit me like a F-King truck. And I say it out loud. I never turned the F-King mic off. Or bailed out of the raid group. She bursted out laughing while I just try to reach for the controller to turn off the Xbox. Edit. Since Avrianan is asking. It was Garden of Salvation. Already own 1000 voices. Anarchy. And Terror. An ex on and off again flew me to New York. We had sex and after he was like, oh. About that thing I wanted to talk to you about. Yeah. I was going to ask you to be my girlfriend but you're just not my idea of an everyday partner. You don't like red wine or sports. More cute but a little dumb. Whenever we're done doing the deed he goes yup time to pee. Very important. From a comedian. I slept with this guy and him trying to be witty and cute goes you are almost beautiful. I responded I was almost going to FCK you again. Will you marry me? We're still engaged a few years later. This wasn't after since we didn't FCK because he said this. But he was standing over the bed. Flexing every muscle he had. I half sat up and was like what the FCK are you doing? And he said trying to look as alpha as possible. I shut it down and went to sleep. No I did not see him again.